Hello, hello. Welcome, guys. Hello, Australia. Hey, Eric, how's it going? Where are where are you located? It's Wednesday morning here, so the future is looking good. And I am excited to be with you all. We'll just give it a few more minutes. Some people are jumping on. Oh, you're in Kentucky, Eric. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Very cool. I love it how we can have people all over the world, hey? Lisa, is that Kentucky as well? KY? I think so. I haven't been to Kentucky. I have spent lots of time over in the States, but there's still lots of places for me to go. That's for sure. Oh yes, Eric is my husband. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, the last name's the same. Excuse me. Well, it's winter here. So the weather is okay because in Perth, Australia, it actually doesn't get too cold in winter, but yeah, it's okay. I'm a summer girl. I love the summer. For a while, I ran my virtual health coaching business from all around the world. I did 25 countries in 3 years. And so I chased summers. I did 5 summers in a row and it was the best. I'm such a summer girl. 90 degrees here. That's nice. That's beautiful. Very cool. Love it. Okay. Well, I am going to start putting this, oh, it's humid. Yeah. I'm going to start putting this live on Facebook as we wait for Dr. Bart to jump on. So I will just do that while you guys all start to head in here. As you jump on, guys, hey, how's it going? Let us know where you are coming in from while I just quickly share this on Facebook so that everybody can listen to it as well. Okay. Well, so we got Kentucky. What other cities have we got happening here?
Well, hey there, girl. I had to unpeel my wall.
The wall's looking awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I know. I had this thing up there, and my wife told me that I had to take it down. I was having a little bit of motivation in the background here. All right, so good evening to you, and welcome. I'm going to put my glasses back on so I can see some peeps here. Hello, Ashley. Hello, Sandra. Good to see everyone this morning. Hello, Kelly. And thank you, everyone, for keep showing up week after week. It's absolutely awesome. I've got, if you didn't know it already, this is one of my favorite topics, and I'll explain to you why in just a moment here. So from Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob, well, good to see you. Good to have you here. And Karen, you're doing all right there in Australia?
I am.
Nice.
I am awesome over here in Australia. My day's just getting started.
Yes.
So I'm ready to
notice I'm in my new studio. It's in process. Yes. Super. Yes.
Super exciting.
Yeah, super exciting. Learning process, learning curve for me. I got to show you something, and then this is what my entire team is making fun of me for right here. But I've wanted one of these for so long. I got me one of these fancy microphones.
Yes.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, they told me that I cannot have it in the video, and I just think it's the coolest thing. I always wanted to have one of these things. So anyway, there's my microphone. Yes, I got to get it out of the camera here.
All
right.
Awesome.
Whenever you're ready to rock and roll, I'm ready.
Yeah, we are live on Facebook. So before we get started, I just want to do a bit of an introduction for those of you that don't know Dr. Bart. He is a healthcare provider over at Balance Health Studio, Seagrove Beach, Florida. He's been practicing there for over 20 years, chiropractic, acupuncture, kinesiology, nutrition and functional medicine, supplementation, And he's also the founder of the Health Edge program, which is a virtual health program for executives and entrepreneurs wanting to take their health to the next level. So he has also worked with thousands of people around the world, including some celebrities and athletes. And so we are so excited to learn about, I'm so excited to learn about fasting tonight because it's a cool topic.
Yeah, Karen, no doubt. This is a cool topic, and I'll put it this way. This is the absolute number one biohack to become superhuman. This is it. This is number one. So all the men and women, all the other practitioners, all the other clinicians out there, this is the number one strategy. When we talk about becoming superhuman, this is number one. This is top of the list. So I'm super jazzed about, be able to kind of share it in such a way tonight. Fasting has become more popular. Didn't start, no doubt about it. Didn't start recently, but it's becoming much more popular last several years. And so over the time, I've had an opportunity to have some interesting experiences myself. And I'll share some of that tonight about how I incorporate intermittent fasting myself. But I've also been able to learn what strategies are working and which ones are not necessarily working.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, because I think people have just started hearing about it recently, but as you said, this isn't a new thing.
Yeah, no, it's not a new thing. And tonight what I'll do is I'll dive deep, and I'm going to do my absolute best to make it nice and simple for people of what is intermittent fasting? What does it mean? And sometimes I wish that the word wasn't fasting, because I do think that sometimes it intimidates people. But I'm going to break that down. We're going to make it so it's not intimidating to understand fasting. Fasting's been around for a real long time. Make sure everyone knows the benefits. There's benefits I think that people have no idea that really take place when we start to incorporate fasting, which is pretty cool. And then of course, how to do it. That might be like, if you block out everything tonight, make sure you understand, and I'm going to make it as simple as can be, how to fast. This is not a starvation diet. This is not just you wake up one day, decide not to feed yourself for a while. That's not what we're doing tonight. And then I'm going to weave in and out as we talk tonight, and then people ask the questions. Make sure that we talk about, like, what are some of the deficiencies? What are some of the things that are inhibiting people from getting all these great results? And there's definitely some very, very consistent things. And there's probably one or two of the biggest mistakes, Karen, that I want to make sure we talk about here, because like a lot of things, it's almost like if you go to a restaurant and the first time you go there, you get a bad meal, you might never go back. And it's a bummer, because the truth is that restaurant probably has a lot of great things. And I see that a lot with intermittent fasting. I hear and see people often say, I tried it. It made me blank. And then all of a sudden they bail out on the number one biohack for superhumans is intermittent fasting.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about how to do it right so that you can avoid some of these mistakes, so that you can actually feel good and know that you're supporting your body while you're doing this, as opposed to, I think, as you said, sometimes when people are trying it and they're not quite sure what they're doing, they can have some negative side effects, and then that puts them off the number one superhuman biohack. So let's like dive into what is it? What are we talking about?
Yeah. So first, let's just say this: it's not a diet. It's so intermittent fasting is not a diet. It is just a scheduling of when you're going to eat. So let's just think of it that way. So it's almost like a food schedule. So if you want to change it from fasting, you could call it a food schedule or an eating schedule, because all it is, it's not a diet. All it is that we are going to very intentionally, and this is the difference here, very intentionally using a strategy, right? So we're going to use intermittent fasting as part of our strategy to become superhuman. We're going to very specifically block out times that we're not going to eat and that we are going to eat. So intermittent fasting means that we have times, literally, that we're not eating, and then there's times that we have. Not intermittent, like interval, meaning like 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 2 hours on, 2 hours off. I mean blocks, like a block of time we're not going to eat and a block of time that we are going to eat. So that's probably the simplest definition. It's not a diet, and it's a schedule of when we are going to eat and when we're not going to eat. Pretty simple.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. And so then why is it important to schedule out these things? Why do we want to do this? What are the benefits?
Yeah, so this is where it really gets fun. I'm going to list kind of the top benefits, like if someone like as a clinician and as someone helping people on a daily basis, but also when people say, listen, what is my strategy to become superhuman? There's 4 or 5 top things that we need to nail. And one, let's go right to one. One of the best reasons to do intermittent fasting is weight loss. It is probably the best weight loss management that there is, period. And we'll talk about different diet strategies, paleo, keto. We'll talk about all those in just a moment. But no, weight loss, no doubt about it. Number 2, especially for clinicians like myself and people like yourself who are working with people to get them healthier, gut health. This is a stealth weapon we can use when it comes to things like candida and yeast and SIBO and leaky guts. But intermittent fasting is one of the fastest leveling up tools there can be in all gut health. My third
I wouldn't think about that. I think people think about weight loss. Like I think that's a reason that a lot of people start, but gut health might not have been something that some people's radar.
Yeah, probably not, and it's, but it is. And for us clinicians, it is, someone comes in with a gut health issue, and that could be on anything across the board. It's okay. Here's the thing. Here's your intermittent fasting schedule. And then we fill in the blank. So we got those. So of course that was weight loss and gut health. And then one of my favorite, brain fog. Clear the brain up, get your brain working better. Then one of the bigger complaints growing right now in our country is just brain fog, just inability to think clearly, think accurately, have good memory, have short-term memory, long-term memory, be precise with our thoughts, and take action daily. It's less and less than we think, and it makes us feel old when we can't do that. So we got brain health, no doubt about it. Inflammation. So I got 2 more: hormones, and hormones. So that was just one. We're going to dive into the impact of intermittent fasting on hormones, and you're going to go, wow, or at least a lot of people go, wow, I didn't realize that it had such a significant play on hormones. But we got to talk. So listen close. I'm going to ask everyone here, pay attention as I go through this tonight, because there's times that we got to be very careful with our intermittent fasting, depending where you are in your hormone state. So we got hormones. And then my last, but definitely not my least, and this is one that it's like the side effect, but emotional fitness, to have emotional discipline about food. So this is like a stealth power to be like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need that. I love that part of it. So it creates emotional fitness to not rely, to not have to eat at any given time, that you have power over that. So we're going to dive into all of those.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think we've become really uncomfortable with being hungry. Like we get like just a little bit hungry, and it's become such a, it's okay to go some time without food, which we're gonna talk about.
It is, and with that topic, so oftentimes people have to eat, and so I don't miss it tonight, I'm going to talk about it right now. In the event that you find yourself, like, I think most of the people watching this tonight are going to be familiar with the phrase hangry. When we get hungry, a little bit angry at the same time, and then it's kind of like you're driving along with your spouse and you say, hey, you hungry? Yeah, sure. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. And then like 2 minutes later, they're like, stop the car now. I need to eat. Gas station, pull it in. That's hangry. And what that has nothing to do with hunger. That is a hormone imbalance. Really, it's a blood sugar imbalance. And what's interesting about that is I've heard many times clinically people say, but I feel so much better when I eat. And the challenge here is that the truth is that most food that you eat takes between 15 to 40 hours to assimilate, meaning digest, go through the intestines, and assimilate back into the bloodstream to be used as fuel. So when you think that you are eating food for fuel, you're not. You're eating to raise your blood sugar. And that's entirely different. So in the event you had a good workout and you think, oh, I'm exhausted and I need energy, and you eat, that food takes 15 hours to digest.
Wow.
And sometimes we forget this. We forget this as clinicians. But it's a reality here. So what is taking place when we're always eating? We're bumping up our blood sugar. And when we're doing that, we've talked about this in some of our shows, that raise of blood sugar, that's like the beginning of the root of all evil. That's the inflammatory markers. That's us being hooked on, call it a drug if you want, but being hooked on food. So my goal is that we always help people with the intermittent fasting on part of their movement to being superhuman is to learn how to become what we call fat adaptive. So when you don't have sugar, your body switches fuel sources and learns how to burn fat real fast. And that'll be kind of the conversation of one of the benefits. That's where the weight loss comes from. You don't need the sugar anymore. So now you use a different source for fuel. And in the hangry moment, so all the people listening out there and be like, no, I had to. I was dying. You weren't dying. You were cranky. So in the event you get hangry, and it happens for a moment because a lot of you weren't near a gas station and you couldn't get to the food right away and you lived. Right?
Yeah.
So you survive that moment. And what you find is that if you go 20, 30 minutes sometimes of just kind of like getting through the hangry moment, your body burns up that sugar and has to figure out another way to operate. And that is how we got to dive ourselves in. That's the beginning part of learning how to use intermittent fasting. So the hangry, really not a hunger issue, because again, and for those of you who keep thinking, I'm hungry, I think it takes 15 hours to digest and assimilate food. And that's if you got a good gut. So if you eat a big burger or something, other than that, you're just bumping blood sugars up.
Yeah, wow, interesting. I didn't realize it actually took that long. I have a question from Eric. Can you still take supplements during the fast? And we're gonna talk about that a little bit later in the show.
So why don't we do this, Karen? I think maybe let's go through how to. And then we'll reverse engineer some of these questions, because I think this is the important part. And this is what I really want our audience and everyone listening tonight on Facebook. Thanks for being here. We love having you. Keep spreading word, keep spreading the love, keep sharing things out. And this schedule right here, and one of the reasons I came up with this clinically, because what I found was that the number one mistake that people make out there is that they go too fast. They go too hard, too fast. And this is often becomes a deterrent for people. And what I mean by that, what I mean is that they go, oh, listen, I heard about a 24-hour fast, or I'm going to go 18, or they think that there's a benefit of just pushing yourself or torturing yourself longer without food. And really, in the beginning, it's just torture. I use the word fat adaptive. We want to help our bodies adapt. And if we don't help ourselves adapt, we just jump, that's when we get ourselves into trouble. So there are deficiencies that come up. We'll talk about those in a little bit. So when we talk about intermittent fasting and helping our body over time, the number one thing we got to watch out for, because people are going to come up, they're going to ask me questions tonight. How long should I fast? I heard it's 16-8. I heard I should do 24 hours. I heard you only kill cancer cells after 36 hours. And all of these could be true. But we got to like walk before we sprint. So here's a layout. All right. So everyone listening, and maybe you're a seasoned veteran. Okay. I consider myself a seasoned veteran this time, and sometimes I got to get back to basics as well. So here's the general layout. This is pretty simple. So we're gonna put in a link here, our schedule. So everyone that's watching tonight here live on the Zoom call, you're gonna get a link, and then maybe Karen, somehow we can find out to get it out to everyone.
Yeah, we're going to email it out. So we have a document for you, with the schedule that we're going to go through. We're going to talk it through, and then we've also put it in the comments here. So you can just click on it. We'll also email it out to you.
So just follow me along here. Then, of course, you can open that up and take a look at it. And we printed out, we kind of made a calendar out of the actual schedule. So it goes like this. From the beginning, and especially if you're new to intermittent fasting, start with just 12 hours. And what 12 hours means is that from the last time you eat, let's just say you stopped eating at 8 o'clock at night, no food until 8 a.m. We'll talk about what you can and cannot have in that in just a moment. So do that for 2 weeks successfully, no matter how hangry you get, how cranky you get, etc. Now, with that being said, Karen, I'll share my personal experience. When I first did this, I was with some people, I was with Isaac and Dr. McCullough, Ben Greenfield, and there was a whole bunch of us. We're up in Atlanta. It's probably 6-7 years ago. And we're doing an experiment, and we're tracking and making some research out of it. And we decided, well, we're going to intermittent fast, and we're going to do a 24-hour fast. But everyone in the room was pretty much a veteran except me. With that being said, I was eating clean. I was eating green smoothies every day, but my challenge, I was a snacker. And so we did these blocks of fasting, and it was absolutely torture for me, even though I had a really clean diet. So fasting for me had opened up a whole nother avenue of moving toward that superhuman status. So with that being said, 12 hours for me in the beginning was a long time for not putting food. I'm an early riser, and I snacked right before bed. So it wouldn't be uncommon that I have a snack at 10 p.m., wake up at 5. So 12 hours would be actually 10 a.m. So I had to sit around for 5 hours without food, which was like an eternity to me. So it took me a while. So if that's where you're at right now, don't think boo-hoo on me like, oh, I suck at this. No, like wherever you're at, I want you to become adapted to that state. And usually 2 weeks is like the perfect timing to let your body get used to having a window without food. Or you can call it a window with food. So in the beginning, 12 hours for 2 weeks. And during that time, there's one other strategy that you can apply: no snacking. 3 meals a day, no food in between. We need to start to develop some of that emotional fitness. And that's going to help us extend our fasting. If we're snacking all the time, again, it's not because we're digesting and assimilating food, it's because we're raising our blood sugar. So that's it. First part, 12 hours, 2 weeks. And then we add 2 hours. And here's where people start to get funny. Well, they figure, well, if I can go 18 hours, why don't I? Because you're not adapted. And that's where we start to see people drop like flies. Be like, I tried this, it was worse for me. It threw my hormones off, whatever. So then after the first month, so after 2 weeks, you go to 14 hours. And then you do that. So in that first month, you're beginning at 12 hours and you're ending at 14 hours. So even after 4 weeks, you're only fasting for 14 hours. You're getting your body to start to be adaptive. Again, no snacking, 3 meals a day. So now we add another 2 hours to the next 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, you add 2 hours. So we go 12 hours, and then after 2 weeks, we go to 14 hours. And after 2 weeks, we go to 16 hours. Then after those 2 weeks, we go to 18 hours, each time adding 2 hours. No snacking, 3 meals a day. Once we get to the 18-hour mark, that's where things change just a little bit. Once you get to 18 hours, we have to start to incorporate what I call a feast day, okay? And a feast day does not mean cheat day, which is interesting how a lot of people interpret that as cheat day. But meaning this, everyone, we're gonna eat clean, we're gonna eat real food, we're gonna eat whole foods regularly. Yet in this time, it is important that we make sure our body never thinks that it's in starvation mode. Never thinks that it's in a deficiency of food. If it does that, what happens, we go old school and really mess up our metabolism, because that when people used to starve themselves, sure, they get a short-term weight loss gain, but they end up tweaking their metabolic body. They mess things up. So once you get into the 18-hour phase, 1 day a week, you can pick whatever day is convenient for you, and I'll share my cycle with you in just a moment. You pick 1 day a week, and it's a feast day. And that feast day means that you wake up early and you start having fun. I shouldn't really say it that way, but you start to eat. You have food early. Because my veterans, those you guys are out there right now, you've been fasting for a while, you no longer want your feast day. But I'm telling you right now, so listen closely to all the people out there that are seasoned veterans that are just fasting every day for 18 hours, 16 hours, 20 hours without changing it. You're throwing things off here. It's not the way it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be feast and famine. We're supposed to have an ebb and flow. Nothing too predictable for the body. Nothing too predictable for our metabolism. So that feast day, all of a sudden we put a lot more calories in the body, good foods. We just eat a lot more frequently through the course of the day. And as we do that, your body goes, oh, wow, look at this. I have tons. Speed up the body, burn this stuff up. And it's part of speeding up your metabolism.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So that's the schedule for everybody. Is this different for men and women? Is this for everybody? Does everyone stay on the same schedule?
It is. So when I go through that, just real quick, we go 12 hours and 14, 16, 18 hours. So we're talking about 2 months out, right? So it's a 2-month schedule right there. And yes, absolutely it is different for women. So here's the thing, especially if you're a cycling woman. So if women are still getting their cycles, still having their period, if you're postmenopause, it's the same. Men and women are the same. If you're still cycling, It is important that the week of your cycle, the moment you know, oh, my period's coming, that is when you go back to 12 to 14 hours max.
Okay.
It's where a lot of women make the mistake that, and again, we don't fast to starve ourselves and lose weight. We use it as a tool. We'll go into the metabolic changes in just a moment. But here's why. When your body, when your period begins, you're killing off cells. Your body is already under stress. It's a form of stress that your body's under. Fasting is an inherent form of stress. We are helping our bodies get stronger by fasting. We do not want to double down with our stress in that time. So you treat those days, 12 to 14 hour fast, which everyone should get really comfortable doing on a regular basis for the rest of our lives. That should be really easy breezy. And then when you go back, you go right back to wherever you left off. You don't have to start back at the beginning. If you were a 16 to 18 hour, faster, perfect. I will say this, Karen, I find this sweet spot for most women, clinically. And I say clinically because there's two parts that happen in clinic. We fix things, and then we establish good lifestyles. So you come in, you got certain issues, you got candida yeasts, you got hormone imbalances. We use certain strategies for that, and then we have everyday lifestyle stuff. Everyday lifestyle stuff for an average woman that's relatively healthy and things are going pretty good, 14 to 16 hours is a sweet spot.
Okay.
We can use longer fasts. For guys, that sweet spot is 16 to 18 hours.
Okay. So a little bit longer for guys. So even, so you might use a little bit longer fast for women if we're dealing with something, if they're coming to see you in the clinic, but generally kind of balance, lifestyle wise, 14 to 16.
Yeah. So, and then if like I said, if we're dealing with things clinically, then we use different strategies. But if for everyone listening tonight, we're like, man, this sounds like a great idea. I'd love to lose a little weight. I'd love to think a little bit better. I'd love to have more emotional fitness. I'd love to have a better gut health. I'd love to get rid of some inflammation. If you want those things and you don't have any major conditions holding you back, 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours, make sure when you're in an 18-hour window, you always have a feast day. Now, can we go more? The answer is yes. And I'll talk about that when we talk about how I do it on a daily basis. But if you're female, usually living 14 to 16 hours. And I say, so listen, I already mentioned, not too rigid with your schedule. I'm guilty of that, no doubt about it. But I'm encouraging everyone out there, don't be so rigid with your schedule. And what happens naturally is this. So I guess I'll share with you how I fast. So typically, not right now, we've changed my schedule, but typically I'm in clinic 4 days a week. I don't eat when I work, period. I don't really know when work is going to stop, so I eat when I'm done. But I didn't start there. And I do that. Now think about that. You might be like, oh my goodness, aren't you doing it? You get tired. So remember, when I'm with my patients, I want to be laser sharp. I want to be in superhuman status. I want to be present. I want to be, I want to have energy. I want to be crystal clear. I want to be able to, multi-cross think everything in a moment's time. The moment I put food into my body, my blood sugar goes up, my thought process slows down. That's a reality. So we've got to be very careful. So for me, now that I've gone through 12 hours, 14 hours, etc., and I've worked my way up there, for me now, and again, I'm not a cycling female, my 4 days a week are usually between, 17 to 22 hours. But I'm comfortable, and I've been doing this for years. So I can do that regularly. Now on Saturdays, which is usually the day my wife and I, we go out, we go get a cup of coffee, we start early in the day, then we go get a smoothie somewhere, and we do things. And next thing I know, I've been eating all morning and all afternoon. That becomes my feast day. I don't think about it. I have no guilt, no shame. And that's the other part of it too. Remember, fasting is not a diet. And I think it's important that we stop thinking of fasting as a diet. We just think it as a strategy to help us become superhuman. And we're allowed to have the ebb and flow, unlike counting calories. So this is for those who are wondering, how many calories can I eat? Inevitably, I'm going to get a text or an email tonight of someone saying, how many calories can I eat while I'm fasting? And the answer is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, fasting. Do you need to count calories? Should people be counting calories?
No, absolutely. It's an antiquated process. It's not calorie in, calorie out. It's quality in. And then that determines what happens with the rest of it.
What about, you're talking about being, you're choosing to fast and you want your brain function to be on while you're at work. What about people who, often I hear people say, oh, I was so busy at work, I just forgot to eat. Or, I got so carried away. Is that the same? Is that still good? What do you think about that?
It's absolutely awesome. I love when I hear that. So, and it's interesting, and I'm going to be honest with everyone out there. So I think they call it practice because you learn along the way. There was years ago that I strongly encourage people to never skip breakfast. And I say that humbly, but I recognize that we learn more and more as we go clinically. And when I hear people now, because a lot of people almost have oh my God, you're going to hate what I did today. And I'm like, what did you do today? It's like, I didn't eat anything yet. And they're perfectly fine. So I'm going to encourage you, listen, if you're not hungry, do not force feed. Allow your body time to learn how to become fat adaptive. Because if you run out of carbohydrates and sugar, all you can do is burn fat. With that being said, I want to give a little conversation to my moms out there. I remember this for myself, and I see a lot of moms, one of the biggest challenges they have is getting their kids fed before school.
Okay.
And they say it's always a wrestling match. I can't get them to eat anything. So the only thing I can get them to eat is this Pop-Tart or whatever. Well, let's take a step back and listen to that. Let's listen to their little innate wisdom in these little bodies that are saying, I'm all right. I just ate 8 hours ago. I don't need more food. Let me go. And then maybe they have a healthy snack later. So I'm going to encourage my moms to listen, your kid's not going to die. I promise you, no way. If they skip a meal, they're going to be perfectly fine. They may get hangry for a moment, but they'll help their bodies, their little metabolisms, learn how to function without using sugar for fuel.
Yeah. The hangry thing is once upon a time, I was renowned for being hangry. Everybody would be you really got to make sure that Karen has food, because otherwise I would get really hangry. But and I think that for me, I was snacking a lot. I was actually, I was eating okay, probably not as clean as now, but I was eating okay, but I was just eating all the time. And it makes you hangry. But if you can start to do some of these, and I don't necessarily fast as long as this every day, but just even having, I think that for people, even if they start just doing that 12 hours and do the 3 meals and just eating less often, you'll find that you actually stop being hangry. And it's so much better from someone who was so hangry all the time. It's so much better for everybody around you as well, right? To not have to carry snacks in case Karen gets hangry.
Yeah, and it's interesting. And I think a lot of us have similar stories. My wife always used to joke saying that you're never hungry because you're always eating.
Yeah.
That, I would never really want a big meal because I was always eating through the course of the day. And little did I know that was actually hurting my health. It was inhibiting me from the best version of myself. And it's interesting. Fasting is nothing new. Yeah. So when we look at history, when we look back, we go, wow, look at this. So, we had Hippocrates, which is the father of medicine, talk about how, if you want to heal the body, fast the body. Gandhi talked about if you want to free the soul, fast. Thomas Edison said that, if you want to, heal the human body, same thing. You said, rest it and fast it. It was always this concept. And we, I think a big concept for us to understand that fasting is not punishment. It was used as a way to elevate the human spirit. Look at every religion in the world. So I'm not going to try to pretend that I know religions. But I think, there's Lent for Christians. There's, the Muslims have Ramadan. There's so many different, everywhere we look, they've used fasting as a strategy to elevate humans. So it's been around forever. So for us, for every human being to be able to go at least 12 hours, pretty, we should be on point with that.
Yeah, for sure. So we got a couple of questions about age. Does age make a difference? We've got 58-year-old male and 71-year-old female.
Okay. I love it. I love that they're on here. So rock on. I love it. And just that right there is a huge superhuman action by just taking action and elevating yourself. So no. So, 71 is still super young because the human body was designed to be between 120 and 150 years old. But what we need to do is incorporate these strategies. So for my person and everyone listening to this, for my 71-year-old person out there listening to this, I just asked us to observe children. And I also want us to observe our elders. When our elders are moving on in life, one of the things they do is they eat less.
Yeah.
They eat less often because both of those require a tremendous amount of chi, a tremendous amount of energy. So that is a conservation, a human life conservation component is to actually eat less and eat less often. But we try to force feed. So I love the idea of allowing our bodies to dictate the course and the path here. So again, clean living. So we eat whole foods, we, foods from God's garden on a regular basis. Yeah, not just like snacks and not Snicker bars and crackers and cookies, but absolutely it's not age dependent. And if we listen and watch history, we watch what people are doing regularly, kids don't want to eat all the time until we teach them and force them to. And people that are trying to conserve energy and conserve life don't want to eat all the time because it costs us.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah, that was a good one. Eric also wrote, I generally eat 2 times a day, morning and dinner, or lunch and dinner, no food after 7 p.m. Sounding pretty good.
Superhuman status right there. That's beautiful. Right on, Eric. That's it right there. Like that is a longevity plan. That is a plan right there to win, which I love. Karen, let's jump for a moment to hormones. Because I think this is a bit of a I don't think people realize the power of fasting when it comes to hormones. So first I'm going to go right to weight loss. I'll get the question all the time talking about, well, I exercise in the morning. Don't I need to fuel up in order to eat? Well, based on what we just, talked about tonight, that if we're fueling up, you're loading up, you're increasing blood sugar. And listen, I don't care what you eat. Any food raises blood sugar. So then when you go to the gym, you burn your blood sugar. You burn the sugar as energy. You do not burn fat for fuel. So you're burning what you put into your body, not what's in your body already. So with that being said, one of the absolute best favorite superhuman strategies on increasing muscle tone, increasing the #1 fat burning hormone in the body, which is growth hormone, is to exercise on an empty stomach.
Okay. And that is a question we get a lot because people think they do need to take something. I mean, is there anything you should take before exercise if you're doing it in the morning fasted?
Yeah, so hydrating well is perfect, and and when it comes to like what things are acceptable during a fast, I think that's always there's a lot of opinions in there, and this is what I'll tell everyone listening here. 1, water, coffee, tea, bone broth, perfectly fine on your fast.
You're still counted within your fast. If you're having water, coffee, tea, bone broth.
Yes, all of those perfectly fine within your fast. Now, with that, sometimes some people here that are listening, they've heard of things like bulletproof coffee, and you can add some MCT oil, some fat, a little bit of butter, coconut oil to your coffee. And we'll do a session on that. What I'll tell those people, yes, do it. Does it possibly bump up your blood sugar a little bit for a small period of time? It might, but it does not break your fast in the big picture. Think about it, and the beauty is when you do that, when we can add a little bit of fat in the morning, you can keep your brain functioning well. And that's where I really am an advocate of us incorporating some kind of like fat in there. So whether you use an MCT oil or butter or coconut oil or something in your coffee or your tea that helps you get a little fat into the brain. Because what I find for most people, if they do that and get a little healthy coffee, a little bit healthy of some type of healthy caffeine in a little bit in the morning, that it actually helps them extend that fast 2, 3, 4, 5 hours more. So the victory of that small bump of blood sugar, no big deal relative to the huge gain there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So really it's water, coffee, tea, bone broth, and some kind of bulletproof coffee or some fat as well.
Yeah, the simplest if you really want to keep it under the radar in terms of blood sugar, MCT oil is going to be the one that probably affects it the least. coconut oil right behind that, which is MCT oil comes from coconut oil, and then butter. Not butter, yes. If you use it like me, sometimes I use copious amounts. Sometimes it starts to begin like a small meal. So just be mindful of that.
Yeah, sure. Okay, we got another question. What about alcohol window during fasting?
Yeah. So one of the things that we didn't discuss tonight, and I kind of did it intentionally, is what to eat when you're not fasting. We're going to cover that, but I want to explain that real quickly here. So, because I want to say this, listen, and I'm not telling anyone to have a bad diet in it. Let's just say that you don't have a good diet, yet you do fast. You can assure yourself you are doing yourself well. I'm not encouraging a bad diet. You keep hearing me saying whole food, God's garden all the time. Yeah, the challenge here's the thing. When it comes to alcohol raises your blood sugar. It's going to impede with sleep. It's going to regulate your liver. It is what it is. It's got ethanol in it. So there's no real true health value to alcohol. Maybe it chills you out a little bit. It does whatever it does for you. Yet that does not count in your window. Like that's not part of your liquids. Yes. And if you're drinking at 5 a.m. in the morning, you got other like things you got to tackle first before your fasting issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and maybe their question was, what if I have a glass of wine or I have a cocktail later in the evening? When that cocktail is done, that's when it starts. So maybe that was their question. That's when it starts your fasting time. So if you have that cocktail and you have a glass of wine, you finish that glass of wine at 10 p.m., that's when your clock starts.
Yeah. So what about, like we kind of talked about some of the mistakes in terms of, people going too fast. What about, like when you touched on a little bit that sometimes people have tried it and they haven't felt very well. Maybe they've like tried it and they felt good for a while and then they've felt really tired. Or some people have gotten maybe dizzy, or there's been some kind of negative side effects that people have tried.
Those are real. It happens a lot. So one, if you're female, I would say make sure that the timing is proper. If you're right in the middle, like you're about to get your period and your body's going through all the change, you're sloughing off all the cells, and you're already in a stress state for the body, just be mindful that could impede some of the results and kind of the effect that you're getting from your fasting. The other part is this: there's two inherent challenges happen when we start to fast. And I want everyone to listen close because, again, inevitably, I'm going to hear someone say, what about the keto flu? What about, these other symptoms that people get? And I want to mention what happens there. So two things happen. First is this: when you start fasting, the first thing that happens is you're going to have less blood sugar, which is awesome. That's like diabetes, it's heart disease, it's all of that stuff. You start to lower the blood sugar. And if it's used to being up here, one of the first things that your body is going to do is start to rally and use all of your B vitamins, assuming you have an adequate amount. Remember, the best source of B vitamins in the world is liver. I don't know a lot of cats eating liver anymore. Well, cats might be, but not peeps. So it's important to recognize this deficiency. And as clinicians, we've learned this over time, that the downfall that people have, they feel like they're fasting and they don't get the energy, or they've been fasting for a while, then all of a sudden their energy tanks. More often than not, they have a B vitamin deficiency. If you're fasting, you're using your B vitamins at double the rate. And I'll explain that. I'll get technical for just a moment here. Because I think everyone here remembers, like back, I guess it would be, I don't know if it's chemistry or biochemistry, something called the Krebs cycle. This Krebs cycle within our body, that's what helps us make energy, this thing called ATP. Well, the cycle itself, you kick all these things in, all these vitamins, you're dropping them in there. And one of the key factors is your B vitamins. When the B vitamins finally get in there, this little cycle cranks things up and poof, it pops out something called ATP. And that's what you and I use for energy. Now, if you are fasting and you're burning up your B vitamins at twice the rate, and that's usually what you're going to do when you're intermittent fasting, you use your B vitamins at a much more significant rate, you're going to metabolize them, and you don't have them for the Krebs cycle, you don't have energy. And now all of a sudden, all these benefits I'm talking about, you're like, that's not what I experienced. I experienced crankiness. I got a headache. I had a little bit of fever, chills. I had all this stuff because your body is under duress. So B vitamins is a very, very important part. And we'll talk about that. That's one of the superhuman strategies that I use as a supplement to make sure everyone has it. And the beauty is B vitamins don't cost a lot, but they're so important for us on a daily basis. That too, because they're water soluble. So the second thing is this, and some of you experience this, when you start to fast, your body starts to detox, which is awesome. So you start to urinate more frequently. And when you urinate more frequently, you start to lose electrolytes. And it's very common. The most significant electrolyte that you're going to lose is a mineral called potassium. Potassium and chloride have a very specific relationship. Sodium, which is salt, sodium, potassium. They're going to help determine how much water weight you do or don't hold. And when they're out of balance, energy tanks. And becomes very stressful for your adrenal glands once again. So those two things, Karen, are definitely, we got to keep our eye on those. They're too simple to fix. And part of the reason is that we have too many processed foods in our lives. So if you've been eating whole food for 40 years and that's the only thing you do, and you don't touch anything that's processed, it only has one ingredient, all that, that's one thing. But that's not us. That's no one's lifestyle, even if you're eating good. So B vitamins or potassium are going to be lowered during fasting, and especially as you get longer into your fast. So that's where some people say, well, my doctor said it's not good for my kidneys. If you have massive deficiencies, nothing's good for anything. And that's where it's really important that you maintain. So we take extra B vitamins during your intermittent fasting. We're literally just during those days. If you're really good eating a lot of liver or liverwurst or bratwurst, fantastic. Not many people are. And I'll share with you a little bit the type of minerals I use. I don't want people taking just potassium. I want them taking the potassium with all the other minerals that are naturally occurring in nature.
Okay, well, let's go through them, shall we? These are the tools that can help you if you're doing a fast. Because people are just starting out, or even if they've fasted before and they've got they've had some of these things that we're talking about, they've been tired, there's some things that they can use that you've kind of been talking about that they can use to.
So I use very specifically a couple that we use, and we'll put them in links here so people can have access to them. So there's really three things that I use for fasting. So if someone comes in and they want an intermittent fasting, like they want to go into this protocol and they want to, use that as a strategy to become superhuman. There's three things I almost give them. Two of them are mandatory, one's optional. The first two is something I call Cataplex B. This is a whole food B vitamin, and probably the best source of B vitamins that I've literally found in the market, which really means in the world. And its first ingredient is liver. And I would encourage people because often people say to me, well, I'm on a B vitamin. I'll say, well, is the first ingredient, is any of the ingredients bovine liver? We need to get it in a whole food source. If you have a synthetic B vitamin, please, folks, listen, understand that will not replenish what's being lost in that Krebs cycle. You need the whole food complex. You need the entire B vitamin enzyme to be able to work with the body there. So that's number one. It's easy breezy. And this is also one of my favorite ones and this is one of the reasons, and I don't know if I've mentioned on this show or not before, but that's one of the ones that I take. I get up, I drink my water, drink my bulletproof coffee, I take my B vitamins. And that's before anything. So I take those B vitamins because they're going to be depleted every day. And those, again, remember, your B vitamins can be used. They don't give you energy. They feel like they do, but we need those in the Krebs cycle to make energy. So the other thing that I use is something called organically bound minerals. That's what I use and give all to my clients for potassium. So the key here is that this is made from kelp. And this is why I love this. So it uses all the natural, if you want to call them micronutrients, the minerals that come that way in nature. So this is not only going to support us and balance out our potassium, but it's also very supportive for the minerals that are going to be needed by your adrenal glands. So that too right there, and they're simple. And the beauty is these are so simple. They're so simple, so easy. It's almost, you almost like kind of have to do them, because if you're going to fast and get all those benefits, I see too many people that are longer fasters that have got into rhythms. They fast every day, 18 hours, 16 hours, 20 hours, but they're not replenishing all of that. Now the body secretly goes in deficiency mode, which is protective mode. And all of a sudden, all those benefits you were getting from the intermittent fasting, they start to go away little bit by little bit. and then it blurs the lines a little bit.
Okay. So there are first two, and yeah, I put the link in the chat for everybody so that you guys can have a look there, and we've got 20% off if you guys have attended tonight. So thanks for jumping on. And then what's our optional one?
Yeah, and so always, and that's for everyone that's on here. It's the gift you'll always get is we'll always give you some kind of benefit or discount or something like that. So take advantage of that. So the other one is this. I don't require this as mandatory yet. This is probably the one that people want the most, and it increases your ability to burn fat, and it's done in a natural way. And I want to explain why this is important. We're sugar burners, Karen. We are masters at burning sugar, and that hangry, that lull of energy, the headache, even some of the keto flu stuff, the biggest challenge is that we are not good at burning fat. So I use something called metabolic complex. It kind of stands for metabolism, but it's really inside it that I want to share with you what's in it. So there's two things that this particular one does. Again, 100% whole food, but this is an herbal product. And remember, herbs will always have more of a driving force to speed up or slow down an action within the body. Vitamins, minerals are supportive of tissue, glands, and organs to get them to function their best. These can actually drive them. We can increase metabolic activity, and the blend is beautiful. And some of you are going to be familiar with these individuals, but when put together, absolutely incredible for two things: helping manage blood sugar, reduce the receptors, so it enhances our ability to function with insulin. That's one. So sugar metabolism and burning fat. So there's four things in there. One is called fenugreek, and anyone that's familiar with fenugreek, you know that fenugreek is one of the absolute best things for helping manage blood sugar. And we use it for a lot of things. It can carry nutrients into different cells. But fenugreek is phenomenal for weight loss, not because it speeds up the metabolism, burns fat, but it enhances your ability to manage blood sugar. Huge. And then there's something called bitter melon. People are familiar with that. Bitter melon is another blood sugar management. So this metabolic complex, there's three of them that are real specific for blood sugar management. Why? Because we're sugar metabolizers. We've got to get this under control. So bitter melon, super good in terms of helping your body regulate blood sugar, helping insulin sensitivities. And a lot of people are moving in that direction where they've built up almost an insulin resistance. And then we have cinnamon, the herb cinnamon, phenomenal. So as much cinnamon people could eat, absolutely do it. Lowers blood sugar again, which is absolutely awesome. Helps us regulate and manage our way that our pancreas is going to work. And then the magic of it all, something called black cumin. Black cumin helps your body metabolize fat. That's it. It works with the liver. So I use this one. So black cumin has been known for a long time. You don't need high doses of it. But when combined, your liver burning fat, your pancreas managing blood sugar, that is how we naturally become better fat burners and increase our metabolism. Caffeine doesn't increase metabolism. Caffeine increases, not per se, it increases essentially our sympathetic nervous system. Increasing the function of your liver and your pancreas, that's how we increase metabolism. So I use this one called the metabolic complex, and I make sure that people stay on it for about the first 30 days. That's really when you want to make that shift, because in that 30 days is when you're not a good fat metabolizer. But as this becomes lifestyle and this becomes part of your superhuman strategies, down the road, you can come off that one. You got to stay on the B vitamins. You got to stay on the minerals. Those are, like I told you, mandatory. But go on the other one for about a month. Some people want to go on in 2 months. Then I pull it out. You know, it's not a mandatory one. It's more of a jump start to getting yourself to kick off those couple pounds, to help burn up a little bit of that fat. It was a little bit harder. Maybe you're not 20 anymore, whatever it may take, whatever it may be. So those three right there is kind of the main ones that I'll use with any fasting schedule.
Okay, awesome. And if you guys want to check out more info on those, the link should be below if you're watching on Facebook, and the link's in the chat if you're with us here tonight. So we got a couple more questions. If you're cool to answer those. One is, should we intermittent fast forever?
Yeah, so the answer is yes. And when I say intermittent fast, we should definitely have gaps. And one of the things I want everyone in our audience here to understand is that intermittent fasting is a timeout. we need to give our bodies a break. If you're always running your car, if you're always working, you just burn out. It is one of the best ways to conserve energy. It's one of the best ways to conserve longevity of life. So some of the things I didn't talk about here, which are probably a deeper strategy or deeper conversation, but listen, we use extending fasting for killing off cancer cells. We use it for repairing mitochondria, for down-regulating autoimmune conditions, for down-regulating diseases. So the answer is yes. Everywhere around us, since as far back as we can look at health history, so we look back and say, what did they do in the past? Fasting was always part of the strategy for leveling up humans.
Yeah, awesome. And if anybody else has any other questions, keep putting them in as we go through these. What about, should you keep your fast hours consistent? So example, 11 to 7, only, not some days 11 to 7 and the other days 1 to 9, like the hours that you eat.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you one thing, although I kind of do a different thing. The answer is change it up. Change it up as much as we can make our body guess and adapt and continuously adapt to feast and famine. We go, oh, wow, we got all this food, and then we take it away. We have no food. And we shouldn't have these emotional up and high, these highs and lows. So the goal is that, listen, you and I could go out, we can have dinner, feel fantastic, and all of a sudden the next day we don't get dinner again until dinner time. Like we don't eat again. And we should be relatively fine if we have adapted our bodies to doing so. So the same schedule all the time, there's a little bit of a yes to that. So I'm going to kind of dive in a little bit here and say, listen, the natural schedule of eating was in the light, always. People didn't eat in the dark. It didn't make sense. You couldn't see your food. So mankind has been eating in the light longer than it's been eating in the dark. So we have scheduled, so I'm going to encourage people, ideally, be done eating somewhere an hour, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, once the sun goes down. And therefore, your schedule does look kind of the same a little bit, but not too rigid. And I'm guilty as can be at the rigid schedule, but I start here and end here. So that's not the best way. Maybe in the beginning, you need that plan, but over time, ebb and flow, ebb and flow.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Next question from Bev. I'm a 59-year-old female and I've been fasting since November. So is the 14 to 16 hour best or 18? I have done the 18-hour fast often, still trying to shed the last 5 pounds, but have lost 23. Well done, Bev. So will feast day help me shed the rest of my pounds?
Yeah, so you're asking some awesome questions. So first of all, thank you and congratulations for being here and working on your health and leveling up. And I hope everyone heard that. I think Bev says she was 53 or 58. Lost 20-some pounds. So in my point of pointing that out, thank you for commenting, because sometimes we think, oh, I'm too far gone or something like that. And the answer is never, ever, ever until you take your last breath. So thank you for sharing that. And listen, those last pounds are the hardest ones. They may take, you might have got rid of those first, in 8 months. Those next 5 pounds may take an additional 8 more months. So allow yourself, give yourself the freedom and permission to be patient. We are not very patient. So continue to do your fasting.
No,
and for you, what I would encourage, because you have adapted your body 14, 16, 18 hours, now it's time for you to push it. Allow yourself and see if naturally that one day, you're planning on eating about 2 or 3 o'clock, go run an errand. Go out for those 2 hours. That would have put you right at 18 hours. And all of a sudden you're running out an errand, you get out of the house for 2 hours and you made it till 20. That little push is where you'll start to make the difference. Not scheduled 20 hours every day, but let that naturally happen. And that is when we make those next changes. But keep doing your thing. 20 plus pounds, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Awesome, for sure. So what if, these are, people have a little bit more specific questions, want to dive a little bit deeper with you. How can they work with you further? Are you able to work with people all over the US, all over the world?
Yeah, real simple. Just reach out. I do virtual consults, on a regular basis. So we sit like this on a Zoom, and that's a great question, Karen. And I always, I always make sure everyone listening that if you got stuff going on, get support, whether it be me or someone else like me that can help you strategize and take you from wherever you are to where you want to be. One of the biggest challenges I see people out there is that they have a lot of good information, but the strategy doesn't lay out properly. So give yourself an opportunity. It's really easy to get in touch with me. You can, I think it's easy to get in touch with me. You can email our office. We'll put the email link in there. Call. My team is absolutely awesome. They will find a time for you. If you have lab work, I'll take all your lab work. We'll analyze everything. If we need lab work anywhere, we can mail it to you. So whatever you need to help level up and develop your personal superhuman strategy, or maybe just overcome, a health challenge that you have right now, I'm happy to help and love to help.
Okay, awesome. And yeah, we put those details in the chat there for you. So there's a phone number and an email for you guys to reach out. Well, this has been awesome. This has been one of my favorite topics so far. So let's wrap it up. Let's make health simple for everyone. Give me 3 action steps people can take today to be able to move them towards their goal of becoming superhuman.
All right, 3 of them from what we just spoke on here. First, just do this. Download the schedule. Download the schedule, the intermittent fasting schedule. So now you literally can look at plan. Just simplify it for yourself. It's that simple. I would say number 2, get some accountability, get a tribe. And I know we didn't talk about that tonight, but the people that you are with, and in many of that have been kind of in my tribe already, you know that I think that we who's around us is an extension. So make sure the people around you are supportive and they know that what you're doing and why you're doing it. So share that with them and make sure that you got great people around you like I have in my life. And then 3rd, no doubt about it, prepare to win. Some of the losses that people have, they try to go too hard, too fast, and they do it without the proper supplements and they create deficiencies. So prepare to win. If you know you're going to do some intermittent fasting, you're going to go all in, you're going to, extend your fasting, stuff like that. Make sure you have those B vitamins. Make sure you got those organically bound minerals. So make sure you get potassium. So download the schedule, get your tribe, make sure you get the prepare to win, get your supplements in there. And that's the superhuman pathway right there.
Oh, awesome. I love it. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, it was awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We're going to be at same time next week for our next show. So we would love to see you on there. See you next week.
Yeah, you'll be awesome.